heading back to the SEC. Yeah, this game at Kyle Field is going to be for first place in the SEC right now. Texas A&M plays host to LSU. They are 2.5-point favorites right now, with a lot of juice if you want to take them at -2.5. There's a really interesting matchup. LSU coming off what I thought was a really impressive win against Arkansas. Arkansas had been playing really good football. Their defense had looked really solid. Garrett Nussmeier came back from that Ole Miss game after looking a little shaky and has played 5 quarters of really good football, I think, these last 2 games. So if he goes in there, and look, you got, how bad is the injury to Shamar Stewart for Texas A&M, right? Chase Besant is fully healthy. Scooby Williams, who came off of a really good game. I know you have Damian Sanford there, linebacker, but what's the situation looking like there for Texas A&M defensively? Who's coming off a really good stretch. And Nick Gordon, by the way, has been banged up. A&M coming off a really good stretch of games defensively. And Connor Wigman, maybe a little less consistent in that Mississippi State game than you would have hoped, but it was on the road, right? We know Connor Wigman at home, outside of the Notre Dame football game, has been fantastic. He's been fantastic in home games. So there's a lot to look at here. Blake Baker has that defense going a little bit for LSU. What does that look like? Texas A&M with Le'Veon Moss in their run game has just been absolutely dynamic. The emergence of Jabri Barber all of a sudden on A&M's side. LSU, CJ Daniels finally emerged the week before, and before that, Aaron Anderson's been playing well. There's just a lot of storylines, a lot of things that we still haven't learned about either of these football teams. And the game is for first place in the SEC, if I didn't already mention that.
Yeah, definitely. I do wonder how Texas A&M secondary. We've talked about it a lot this season, this offseason, in terms of all the versatile pieces that they have. But it doesn't matter if you don't have guys that could just go out and flat out cover really good weapons and really good balls that are going to be thrown by Nussmeier. He puts the ball in beautiful spots. A lot of the times he throws the football. That's my one concern, I think, for Texas A&M, especially if Stewart's can't go and you don't have quite the elite pass rush and front four that you've had all season. That could be concerning, especially with the newfound emergence, like you said,
Right.
of a guy like Caden Durham. Right, that's a potential concerning spot there for Texas A&M. I do want to ask you this, unbiased Texas A&M guy, right? Is there a quarterback edge, and how significant is it if there is one for LSU? Right? Because here's the thing, like
I think there is. Well, I'll give the weapons and the offensive line the edge, which I think gives Nussmeier that edge, right? So LSU hasn't given up a sack since the South Carolina game, right? Yeah. And you're losing Shamar Stewart in the pass rush, and you could look and be like, hey, Cassius Howell is still there, right? Really good pass rusher. But he's not an every down guy the same way Shamar Stewart is. He's not. And
Definitely.
Nick Gordon only played 40 snaps because he was banged up last week. So, and then in the secondary, like you mentioned, Willie, legit number 1 corner, right? Have no questions about him at all. Des Ricks is still young, right? And he's had his moments of brilliant athleticism, and you love it. In the slot, Jaden Hill is just absolutely stunk. He's been terrible. They're trying to get BJ Mays more in that game. Bryce Anderson's been playing terrible. It's been a lot of Marcus Ratcliffe and a lot of Dalton Brooks. Dalton Brooks being the guy who's absolutely emerged as a potential superstar in this secondary these last couple of weeks. And there's a lot. There's a lot going on in this game. I think I like LSU in this spot. I'm gonna take them plus 2.5 to beat Texas A&M in Kyle Field. It's gonna be a blackout game in Kyle
Field.
New
uniforms? Are the uniforms gonna be? Because I know they teased them over the summer. That's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be awesome.
Like, I think ticket poll. They're already almost like sold out, and it's like day one. So that's bonkers. That is literally bonkers. So there will be like 106, 107,000 people at this game. It is going to be rowdy. It is a night game. It's always dangerous in Kyle. And Connor Wigman has had success against LSU. Garrett Nussmeier has struggled at times on the road, although he didn't at Fayetteville. I'll take LSU the spot just because I think I like the matchup better. But here's the thing. If A&M wins this football game, their path to the SEC championship looks really nice. Like, really good. Because you hold the tiebreaker over LSU, right? Who, they still got to play a couple more tough games, but then you get South Carolina on the road, which is scared of that game, right? Auburn on the
Everybody
road,
is.
which I'm feeling a lot less nervous about, and then you get Texas at home, who we just saw look really vulnerable against a team with good pass rush. So, and I've said it since the offseason that I like Texas A&M's matchup against Texas better than I like the matchup against LSU here. So I'll take LSU plus 2.5.
I'm gonna forgive you for stepping over New Mexico State in mid-November because they are
You're
not
right.
affecting the SEC standings. It won't affect the SEC standings, but we've seen them do their thing before. No, obviously, like you said, this is a massive, massive game. Who would have thought we're gonna be at this game October 28th, 26th, right? And it's going to be the only two undefeated teams left in the SEC in conference play. I think a lot of these teams, both these teams, were kind of written off after week one, right? We saw Notre Dame coming to Cal Field. We saw LSU lose to USC, and everyone's like, okay, great, good season, and they'll be tough, and no one wants to really play them, but no one expects them to really be there when it matters in November. Yeah, the winner of this game and the loser, therefore, too, also has a chance to win, to still accomplish a lot of their goals, too. It's going to be fantastic. I loved asking you about Connor Wigman and Garrett Nussmeier. I'll say Wigman, the way he looked against Missouri was incredible. Now he has to play Missouri's former defensive coordinator, Blake Baker. I do wonder how that's going to go. Colin Klein, I've been very impressed with him as of late. I think since since Missouri, since Wigman got healthy, I think they ran the ball well. They've had some good schemes. They pushed the ball down the field. Noah Thomas has gotten involved. That's been fun to see. But like you said, there are injuries on the defense side of the football that are concerning for Texas A&M. And if LSU's offensive line can play the way that they have recently this past month, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I'll go LSU even on the road. Listen, taking top 10 teams on the road at A&M, at Cal Field is never a good thing, right? Never a good thing.
Despite
right?
what the media will tell you. But yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. They just haven't been there. They just haven't been there. Regardless, though, it's going to be a massive, awesome, awesome game. In terms of ways for Texas A&M to win this football game, Le'Veon Moss. To me, that guy, if you can run the football, control this football game, and really lean on this defense, which kind of shut down a pretty damn good rushing attack in Arkansas last week with Jaquin Jackson and Taylor Green there, that would be
Banged up
massive.
Jaquin Jackson. But
And banged up Taylor Green. I'll say that too. Absolutely. But I do also think this is the best offensive line Texas A&M's played probably all year and probably since Notre Dame. And that is going to be interesting because I think Arkansas, they leaned on Arkansas and they just took over that football game. And it was awesome. It's going to be a little bit different. You have to win in certain ways. Your offense might have to bail you out in certain times here. A lot of pressure on Connor Wigman, a lot of pressure on Noah Thomas. I think running the football with Le'Veon Moss is going to be a big factor. I want to ask you this real quick. A&M's offensive line, how do you feel? I think they've been better late as of recent, right? That's been impressive to see, good to see for sure. Do you feel good about them in this matchup against LSU?
And I'm not like actually super familiar with like the personnel of LSU, and like I've watched all their games, and I don't know how they get to the quarterbacks as much as they do, but they do.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know.
Is it Blake Baker?
And they haven't played bad offensive lines either. Like, because I'm trying to look at that, I'm trying to be like, okay, like maybe they played. Well, USC's offensive line has been very much of a disappointment. But it wasn't just that game.
Especially.
You had 7 sacks against Ole Miss. You had 7. Now, I guess Ole Miss's offensive line has underperformed as well. But if Chase Basantis is not going, I feel less confident, in that spot. I think Crownover's been all right. It feels like he kind of really took over that spot at tackle. Trey Zune's been great this season. Coley at center is filled in awesomely for Naboo, and Armash Reed Adams is great. It's been a really good offensive line. And Connor Wigman gets rid of the football, right? He doesn't take a lot of sacks. It's just like, in a game where I feel like Connor Wigman has to outplay Garrett Nussmeier to win the game, given the injuries, the potential injuries. I'm not saying that any of those guys are playing or not playing, but regardless if they're banged up, I think you need a lot from Connor. And I don't know if we're going to get what they need from Connor, even though I think Connor's an exceptional quarterback. I really do. The weapons, if Jabri Barber steps up in the way that he did and Cyrus Allen stops dropping passes and Noah Thomas continues to play well, stretching the field, then yeah, Absolutely. Texas A&M can win this football game. Texas A&M can literally, they're favored in this football game. Texas A&M can run the football if they get after the quarterback,
Yeah,
if they put Garrett Nuss, like, literally A&M can win this football game. All right. I'm just not sure that they will. So I'll take LSU plus 2.5.